back to another build video. Today we're going over Rocket Barrage AMARA, which, as you might see from my gear and from the title, it is a rocket launcher AMARA build. Now, this build, my setup is not actually complete. I still need to get some gear, but it works just fine. I just ran True Takedown a little bit ago, and it ran pretty good. Now, the only real downside of the build is if you got like flying enemies like Wotan's top half, the back burner is not really great for the weapon unless for the enemy unless your target is standing still, because you can't phase grasp the top half. The Plague Bearer can do good work against it, but Plague Bearer has actually more damage from direct contact, and you can't really directly hit the top half because of the fact that he's moving too much. So the only thing that I consider using is use the back burner. You just proc your ASCs. You use your back burner and tie that bind both Wotan's lower half and top half when they split before Wotan's lower half gets away. That might one-shot it. I'm not too sure. I haven't tested it yet. But if it does, then that's great, because that'll basically get rid of the top half and you don't have to worry about it. So yeah, top half is the only problem with this build. Like I had to wait a little bit before it stops moving and then you can shoot it. But yeah, basically this is launcher AMARA, and if you've seen my health bar, we're in Deathless too. And we don't have any while under 50% health, gain 150% weapon, except this redistributor, but I got that from the takedown and I kept it in my inventory. But yeah, we don't have that anoint. We have the 300% anoint because we mostly want to one-shot enemies with this build. Yes, it is a one-shot build, and it is really great at it. And we're using Deathless with a fish left. Now, my Deathless is actually not the right one. You want to look for a cut purse Deathless with at least AoE damage. That's all you need for this build. You need a cut purse Deathless with a AoE kind of damage. You need launchers, a phase zerker, transformer, and fish slap. Now, what this is gonna do, the cut purse, when you melee an enemy, you'll get ammo back. Now, I use a cut purse launch pad to get my ammo back because it gives you ammo really quick. Slam counts as melee, and slide also counts as melee for some reason with the cut purse launch pad and the rocket boots. They also work. But the reason why you want a cut purse Deathless is because you won't switch your weapon, your artifact, too much. And when you throw fish slap, the fish slap actually does melee damage, so you're gonna get ammo back. Sorry, when you throw your grenades out. Now I do have a Snowdrift Deathless, which is actually really good, especially for the Wotan fight. If you don't want to get cryoed by either the heavyweights, the frostbite heavyweights, or Wotan's rockets, this is actually really good to get around the map, and it's good for survivability actually. But again, I really recommend, if you're not doing Wotan, a cut purse Deathless. Now for our gear, we're only using the viable launchers on Min 10, which are basically 3 of them. 4 if you can include the Scourge, but the Scourge is actually not that good on AMARA. It's good on Zane because the Plague Bearer has to charge and the Scourge doesn't. But we don't care about charge time on AMARA because we're not dependent on speed on this build. So for the first weapon, we're using the yellow cake. Straightforward, yellow cake is the yellow cake. It'll just one-shot things. It's just insane. We're using the Types 2 variant with the 300% annoying because that's the best variant we can get. We're using the Plague Bearers. Now, these weapons are insanely good for mobbing. Basically, what I do is I usually shoot the Plague Bearer, then face grasp enemies, which will ties other enemies. And because we do have Guardian Rank enabled, and because we have what should this kill? There's overkill. Because we have overkill, the projectiles are actually going to do more and more damage. It's kind of complicated. You'll see what we can do with the Plague Bearer because your projectiles are going to add overkill to your next shot, basically. If that makes sense. But that's what's happening. But we do have Guardian Rings turned on because I feel like on Mayhem 10, Guardian Rings are... They're not required, but they actually do help a lot. So yeah, we turned them on. So you can turn yours. If it's not filled out, just try to fill out up to overkill. And maybe come on and slam if you're using a Cutpurse launchpad. Now we're using the backburners for... Basically, this is a fun weapon. You can use it for mobbing, you can use it for bossing, and you can use it for takedown. It's an all-around good weapon. You can use it, especially like on Kraken. You can one-shot him. You can one-shot Valkyrie's face, but I like to use the yellow kick instead because it's just insane. And you can also do some pretty good work against Wotan. One-shot his face, basically. So yeah, I adore this weapon. It creates, as well as the Plague Bearer, they create singularities when you directly hit an enemy or a surface. And for the backburner, that's actually a good feature or good thing because what the backburner does is going to shoot a big orb that's actually kind of slow, and it's going to shoot out when it hits. It's going to shoot out like little orbs. And these do pretty good damage. They're pretty much the source of your damage in the backburner. So if you have an enemy, like a bigger target, and you shoot under them, like under their feet, all of these projectiles are gonna hit the target. And if that's the target's crit spot, well, you can imagine how fast they die. This is actually on par, or it's not better, but it can do as much damage as the yellow kick, or even more sometimes. You can one-shot Trond. You can one-shot Graveward, I think. I've seen a one-shot with Graveward with a fire backburner, which is pretty insane. So, as I've already covered, we're using a Facehugger. Now, my Facehugger is actually not a perfect roll. The only roll that actually is good is splash damage, or, well, the two rolls that are good, splash damage and anima. Conflicts is a great skill as well, but anima's dots do insane damage, both to enemies and to yourself. But we still pick it up because we don't care. We really don't. So yeah, let's go over the skill tree real quick. Now we're using Deathless AMARA. So, in the red tree, as you can already see, we have no points in sustainment because there is no need for sustainment. And I'll show you my modifiers, my main modifiers real quick, which help you a lot with survivability. So yeah, basically skill tree, we're going 5 to 5 on anima for dot damage and dot duration, which is really good against enemies. It can backfire and kill you, but I feel like it's worth the risk. We're going 5 out of 5 on Tempest for extra elemental damage and extra shock damage. We're going 3 out of 3 on Steady Hands for accuracy and handling. This is just to move down the skill tree. I actually generally pick this on any AMARA build because it's great. It's just more accuracy in general. Now we're going 2 out of 5 on infusion to add more projectiles to weapons that spawn projectiles, and to do a little bit more damage with shock damage as shock damage. We're going Dread. We're maxing Dread. 1 out of 1 is a 1-point skill, as well as Deep Well. Now this is gonna increase the gun damage. When you grasp an enemy, you basically get gun damage against that enemy, and if you kill the grasp enemy, you actually get your ammo reloaded. Like, your mag is fully reloaded. It takes ammo from your ammo pool though, and puts it in your bag to refill it, basically, which is actually great. It maintains our DPS quite well. Deep Well for more mag size is just a no-brainer for AMARA, as well as Indiscriminate. The skill is absolutely insane. You have a chance to ricochet shots, which can deal massive amount of damage, and it's basically a must pick for most AMARA builds. Now we're going to max out Conflux, because we have pretty much a 50% chance with our class mod to add a second status effect, or should I say add a status effect, because I'm pretty sure, I haven't tested it, don't take me for granted, but I'm pretty sure you can actually stack these, because sometimes I'm doing a lot of dot damage, sometimes I'm doing a little less dot damage. I think that's because of Conflux. Could be wrong, I don't know. And then we're going Forceful Expression, because that's just elemental damage. It's a little elemental damage boost, which is great. Now, another no-brainer for AMARA is Personal Space. This skill is actually bugged. It says we do up to 36% of damage dealt, but we actually do up to 54%, which is great. And the distance is actually insane. You could be like right here. I could be right here, and this like big mountain could be my enemy, and I'd still gain a little bit of damage. Its range is insane, and the damage is insane, so it's a no-brainer. Now, our class mod boosts Clarity, which is gonna give us health regen, and we don't need that. We don't need health regen unless you switch to the cut burst. Your health is always gonna be at 1. And it doesn't help with the shield either. And then Blue Tree, we're going 5 out of 5 on Do Harm, because action skill damage boosts the Ties that Bind damage. So it's basically a one-shot skill. If you're not going to, well, you should pick it up, but if you're not going to, move the 4 points that are in Do Arm over to Alacrity and 1 in Restless, because that's more reload speed and a little bit of action skill cooldown rate, which is perfectly fine. Now we maxed out Fast Dance for reload speed, which is basically all you need for this skill. Like, we don't care about mode switch speed, but SWAT speed is also good, so we picked it up. Now we're going 1 on Violent Tapestry to get a maximum amount of rush stacks of +10, which Do Harm also does increase. Sorry about that. Yeah, we get 20 rush stacks out of these, and we get 30 out of these. Something like that. Now we're going 3 out of 3 on Transcend for more crit damage. When you actually hit a crit with this build, especially like with the Plague Bearer, it just destroys everything. It's insane. I'm really enjoying this build more than pretty much every AMARA build I've tried. It's just really, really fun. Even with the yellow cake, you know, I don't like the yellow cake. It's just easy, too easy for me. But with this build, it's just fun. You just face grasp an enemy that's in like a group of enemy. You just face one, shoot the yellow cake, bam, everybody's dead. That's insane. You can do this with every launcher in this build, but still. Then we're going 2 out of 5 on Alacrity to move down the skill tree and to get bonus reload speed. We're maxing out Transcend. Ascended, not Transcend, sorry, for bonuses on our Soul Sap, which is pretty good. You can move this point over to Alacrity if you want. It's basically just to move down the skill tree. We're maxing out Late Bear, so then when we use Face Cast or Face Slam, we get increased damage from all sources when they get damaged by our action skill. This doesn't work with Face Grasp, I think it doesn't work with Face Grasp. I could be wrong, but from what I've heard, it doesn't. Now we're maxing out Wrath, because that is just insane gun damage. After you use your action skill, you get 40% gun damage, which is darn nice. If you don't use your action skill, though, you get 20% passive gun damage, which is still nice. Now we're maxing out Awakening. Now the reason why we're maxing out Awakening is because we're using Do Harm, and this will actually boost Do Harm's damage, which will in turn boost even more the Ties That Bind damage. So if you're not going to pick, if you're only going to put 1 point in Do Harm, I recommend moving those 3 points over into From Rest, because your Plague Bearer has charge time and your launchers are just going to get more fire rate, which is insanely good. It's pretty good. Now, Remnant. This skill is insane with this build. And as you can see, as you can read, basically, Remnant spawn when you kill enemy, you spawn a Remnant Orb. Now, the Remnant Orb itself does no damage in Mayhem 10, but any overkill damage is added to the projectile, and this overkill has no cap. It has no cap at all. The overkill skill in your Guardian rank has a cap of 5 times your weapon card damage. This does not. So when you grasp a bunch of an enemy and one orb as the final, well, in quotation marks, final orb, it can go up to 100 million plus damage easily. It's just so insane. So it's a must pick for most Phase Zerker builds. And for our latest point, or our last point, we're putting 1 point into Avatar, because we basically, when we face grasp an enemy, we kill them, face grasp is over, face grasp is in cooldown, we can actually use it again. And there's actually a little indicator that we do have it. If we don't, the indicator goes away in my bottom bar. So yeah, it's pretty good. Now, let's go over our modifiers. We're using Speed Demon, Healy Avenger, Pool Party, and Postmortem. Now, Speed Demon and Healy Avenger are pretty neutral. Healy Avenger can backfire, but it's not an issue. You'll mostly benefit from Healy Avenger because you get shields. Speed Demon, I could go for another modifier other than Speed Demon, because I don't like the speed that much, but it's good if you want to run the takedown really quick. It's good. Now, Pool Party. This modifier is actually pretty good, because it can spawn a shock little pool that will yield your shield when enemies are damaged. It can also spawn corrosive and incendiary ones, but you'll most likely not die from them. Shock is basically, when you see the pools, just try to aim for shock, just try to go for shock, and you'll basically be invincible because of how much shock damage does. Now, Postmortem, I learned to avoid the skulls. If you keep track of them, if you see one spawn and you keep track of it in your mind, it won't kill you. It won't. Unless you really are too focused on enemies, which can happen. Anything can happen. But I've actually, like, all the modifiers, this is the most neutral one I've found. Buddy system is awful because it kills your overkill and kills your chains because some enemies are completely immune to damage. Roguelite, you can get one-shotted since you don't have health gate. You can get one-shotted, and that's just a rip. You die instantly. So in the takedown, that's a rip. Holy crit is actually pretty good, but you're not flak. Crits, you're not hitting crits all the time, so it's basically 50% less damage. Not our go-to. And not face, again, 75% less damage. Not our go-to. So postmortem is pretty much the only one I run. And for the Dazed and Infused one, don't use Dazed and Infused. It's just bad. Elemental resistance in this game is pretty harsh, especially in endgame. So yeah, we'll basically run through from here to Trant and kill Trant. So I'll actually only use the yellow cake for Trant, and I'll use the plague and backburner for these parts. So like I said, basically you want to shoot and then grasp if I can. I can't, okay. As you can see, like it does insane damage, and I failed too. Like that was a fail. Just shoot your shot and face grasp, and yep, everything just went poof. And I just died because of not being aware of the barrel. Well, I was aware of the barrel, but I didn't care about it. That's the. As you can see, I didn't even get to face grasp the enemy, and they were all dead. Just face grasp, and yep, they're dead. Well, mostly, and that's death. Basically, those are 2 death skulls. And yeah, they're all dead. These guys, yeah, they're dead too. Let's just shoot and face grasp. And yep, they're dead. They're dead. Okay. Let's go over the next part. You spawn. So you there, shoot their feet. And yep, as you can see, death. Shoot your feet, and death. He died too. Switch guys to this guy. Shoot, death. And overkill, well, remnant orbs with overkill, insane. And send shock, and as you can see, my shield does not go down, pretty much. And now for Trant. Let's just wait until our stacks are over. Yeah, okay. And we don't even have, we don't need, but let's use face cast. Alright, let's just use face cast. We don't need it, but let's throw it out. Okay. Well, I got one-shotted. That's fine. You can even kill him and fight for your life. This was a really bad kill though, I'm sorry, I should really save quit, but this is how like insane this build is. You can have no ACs. Well, this is not the build. The yellow cake is still the okay. That's why I killed him so fast, but still, this build is just so fun. And right now I'm a little short of on time. I gotta do some things. So if you want to try this build out, just remember what you need is a fish slab, a cut purse deathless, and launchers with facehugger and a transformer. That's pretty much it. And if you found this build helpful despite my awful commentary, and if you found this build pretty cool as well, because I haven't seen a lot of people do launcher AMARA because of her not being able to really sustain ammo. If you found this unique, well, tap that like button, dislike if you dislike it, I'll be fine. And if you want to watch more videos, you can go to my channel. And if you want to stay tuned for other videos, you can subscribe if you want. And that'll be it. I'll be over. Bye, guys.